Ma'am, your husband didn't order that dessert. Don't eat it. Leave now. Thank you. That's what the waiter whispered. I tried to act normal with my husband, and as we were leaving, the waiter approached and said, "Actually, the one who ordered the dessert was..." Welcome to the Velvet Vendetta channel. My name is Renee. I'm 34 years old, a freelance designer, and until that night, I believed I had a solid marriage. Steven was always affectionate, thoughtful, one of those men who holds your hand even while waiting in line at the grocery store. That night, our 7th anniversary, he went all out. A new restaurant in Chicago, the kind you have to book weeks in advance. He arrived in a suite, wearing that charming smile and with his eyes sparkling, just like when we first met. "To the woman of my life," he toasted, looking at me as if the world had stopped. I smiled. Despite the fatigue of our daily routine, that gesture stirred something deep inside me. The dinner was perfect. A light appetizer, white wine, and our favorite fish for the main course. We talked about travel. We reminisced about our first date. It was all like a movie until the dessert arrived. An elegant plate with a warm sauce and red berries, my favorite. "Here is the requested dessert," the waiter said, placing it in front of me. Before walking away, he leaned in and whispered without looking at me, "Your husband never ordered this dessert." A shiver ran down my spine. "What?" I murmured, trying to keep my smile in place. "But he just ordered it." I was at the table. He didn't say a single word. I froze. Steven was smiling, relaxed, as if nothing strange was happening. "Honey, did you order this?" I asked, feigning normalcy. "Of course, I thought you'd love it." He picked up a fork and dipped it in the sauce. "Just how you like it." The waiter had already left, but I noticed that when he placed the check on the table, he discreetly slid a folded piece of paper under the silverware. Pretending to wipe my mouth with the napkin, I grabbed the handwritten note. In shaky handwriting, it said a single sentence. "He's going to do the same thing to you that he did to the other one." My fingers trembled. The dessert was still there, untouched, looking at me like a trap disguised as affection. While smiling and toasting with me, Steven slid the fork with the dessert toward me. "Go on, try it. I ordered it just for you." The fork stopped just inches from my mouth. My heart was pounding, but on the outside, I smiled as if everything was fine. "Are you okay, love?" Steven asked. I nodded. "I just ate too much. I'm full," he laughed. "You always say that before dessert, more for me." Then, faking a slight discomfort, I excused myself to go to the restroom. I locked the door, leaned against the sink, and read the note again. 3 times. "He's going to do the same thing to you that he did to the other one." Which other one? What was this person talking about? I took out my phone and started searching for anything about Steven. First by his name, then by photos. Nothing unusual. Until I tried something different. A reverse image search with an old photo of him, cut from an album. Only one result appeared. An old local newspaper clipping. "Woman mysteriously disappears after ending relationship with businessman." The image was small but clear. Steven hugging a woman with dark hair. Young, pretty. Isabella. The case had been closed, ruled a voluntary disappearance. I returned to the table, trying to keep my composure. Steven was talking about a trip to the beach. I could barely hear him. In the car on the way back, I noticed the glove compartment wasn't fully closed. Pretending to look for gum, I opened it and saw something in the back. A small printed photo. The same woman from the article, in Steven's arms, holding a baby. "What is this?" I asked, holding up the photo. He saw it, visibly uncomfortable. "Oh, that's old. She was a friend holding a baby. It's a long story, Renee. I don't want to ruin the night." "You already have." I got out of the car, my head spinning. Back at home, I waited for him to fall asleep. I called the restaurant and asked to speak with the manager. "I need to know the name of the waiter who served us last night." She hesitated. "Ma'am, we don't have any employee matching the description you gave. In fact, that table was served by the maître d', and he assures us he didn't say anything." "And the note?" "What note?" I felt a pit in my stomach. The next morning, I woke up to a notification on my phone. An anonymous message. A photo of Stephen holding a clear vial, seemingly pouring something into a glass. The photo stared back at me like a silent threat. Stephen was in the kitchen, pouring a clear liquid into a glass. Mine. The sender was an unknown number. No text, no explanation. My entire body froze. I ran to the sink. The glass was still there. I rinsed it, washed it 3 times, and still, I could taste fear in my mouth. I tried to reply to the message. Who are you? Nothing. Just the delivered notification. No response. That morning, Stephen left as usual. He gave me a kiss on the forehead. Talked about a meeting, a lunch with investors, the same old speech. But something inside me was no longer the same. I went back to the couch, the note in one hand, the phone in the other, and all the doubts exploded in my head. I reviewed the article about Isabella. One name caught my eye. Luna Martinez. It couldn't be a coincidence. My best friend, my confidant, the one who always said, "That man is too good to be true." I called her. "Are you busy?" I asked. "Never for you," she replied. "What's wrong? You sound strange." "Do you remember Stephen's ex, Isabella?" Silence. "He's had so many. Why bring this up now?" She laughed nervously. "I saw a photo of her with a baby, and she disappeared." "Renee, you're getting carried away. You're tired. You're making things up." "And what if I'm not? I'm coming over. We need to talk. I'll bring wine. Sound good?" She hung up. Something felt staged, but I had to figure out how much of it was friendship and how much was old manipulation. Later I called the restaurant again. I spoke with the security guard and described the waiter. Slim, buzzed hair, low voice, kind of nervous. "Ma'am, nothing like that was recorded. And the maitre d' insists he was the one who served your table." "But he gave me a note." "Sometimes someone wants to plant an idea, ma'am. That's all." Plant an idea. I held on to that. Luna arrived with wine, her usual smile plastered on her face. We talked. She listened to me a little too closely. She responded calmly, almost rehearsed. Nothing concrete. She went to the bathroom and left her phone on the table, but it was locked. I was left alone in the living room. For a second, I thought about touching it. I didn't. I just watched. When she returned, she smiled at me as always. But there was something different in her eyes, as if she knew more than she was letting on and was amused by it. Late that night, something woke me up. A faint noise. I went to the bedroom window and saw a silhouette walking on the sidewalk across the street. It looked like Luna. But why would she be there at that hour, watching my house? Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night feeling like someone is watching you? Because that's what happened to me. It wasn't a noise, it wasn't a light, it was a feeling. I got up slowly, walked to the bedroom window, and outside, standing on the sidewalk in front of my house, I saw her. Luna, in a light coat, her hair tied back, arms crossed, staring directly at my house. I blinked just once, and when I looked again, she was gone. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe it was a shadow. But my gut felt it was real. And when your body feels something, there's no turning back. The next day, I feigned normalcy. Stephen invited me out to lunch. I accepted. We made small talk. He seemed calm, too calm. "You're acting strange," he said, cutting his chicken breast. "I slept poorly," I replied. I lied. I hadn't slept at all. And what was poor was everything. On the way home, he watched me out of the corner of his eye. "Are you mad at me?" No." "Then why do you seem like you want to pull away?" And yes, I was pulling away. But what he didn't know was whether I was running from him or from someone else. That's when it finally clicked. We always expect danger to come at us head on, but the realest danger is the one disguised as affection, the one that arrives with a glass of wine and tells you, "I'm here for you." And for that very reason, I needed proof. Because up to that point, all I had were pieces, suspicions, instincts. I needed facts. That afternoon, I pretended I was going to work at a coffee shop. I grabbed my laptop, gave Stephen a kiss goodbye, and instead of leaving, I drove straight to Luna's house. I knew she wouldn't be there. We had plans to go to the grocery store later, so she wasn't expecting me. I opened the gate with the code she herself had given me. I entered carefully. The whole house smelled like lavender. It felt the same as always. Tidy. Familiar. But as I passed through the living room, I noticed something new. A photo wall. Pictures of us, parties, birthdays, trips. But among them all, there was one that made my blood run cold. Luna, Steven, and Isabella. Together, smiling as if they were old friends. My heart stopped. I took a photo with my trembling phone, and for a second I doubted it. What if it was edited? Some AI trick? A cruel joke? But no. The reflection in the mirror, the lighting, the date printed at the bottom. It was real. And the worst part was, I had no idea. Just then I heard footsteps. I slipped out the back door before anyone could see me. Back at home, while Steven was in the shower, I went through our own photos. One, in particular, caught my attention. It was from our first trip together. We were on top of a hill, just the two of us. But in the version I saw at Luna's house, she also appeared, out of focus in a corner, as if she had been hiding, watching. I backed away from the wall, feeling a chill on the back of my neck. You're not crazy, Renee. You were just asleep. And I told myself, and if you're listening to this, I'm only going to tell you one thing. Listen to your gut. Even if everyone calls you dramatic, your body knows the truth before your mind does. That night, Steven slept soundly. I didn't. I locked myself in the study. I started connecting the dots. The ghost waiter, the photo of the poison, Isabella's case, the picture of the three of them, the note, and Luna standing in front of my house in the middle of the night. I started recording audio notes, saving screenshots, writing down dates. If something happened to me, I wanted someone to know the truth. Then a new anonymous message arrived. If you keep digging, you'll end up like her. I replied, like who? Isabella? And for the first time, they answered. You don't understand. She's still alive and she's hiding from both of them. I dialed the number. They hung up. I called again. Once, twice, 3 times. On the 4th try, someone answered. Hello, said a low, tired woman's voice. Is this you, Isabella? Silence, then a sigh. Yes, but you can't trust anyone. Not him, not her, not even yourself. And she hung up. I was in shock. Isabella was alive, and she was afraid of me. It was like being trapped on a chessboard, but without knowing if I was the queen, a pawn, or just the next piece to be captured. The next day, I searched Steven's office for anything connecting him to Luna or Isabella. I found an unmarked envelope. Inside were copies of documents, all in the name of a woman named Sophia Anderson, but the photo was Isabella. A new name, a new identity. On the back of one of the papers was a handwritten note. She knows too much. Who wrote this? I whispered. Just then, I heard footsteps in the hallway. I quickly put the papers away. The door opened. It was Steven. What are you doing here? I was looking for you. I lied. I was about to call you for dinner. He smiled, but I was trembling inside because I no longer knew if I was sleeping with the villain or running from the real enemy. Have you ever doubted someone so much that when you discover the truth, the relief hurts more than the lie? It sounds strange to say, but I wanted to be wrong. I wanted it all to be a figment of my imagination, an overreaction, a senseless crisis. But what happened that day showed me that there are people who wear your trust like a mask, only to attack you with greater force. The doorbell rang late that afternoon. I opened it. It was her, Isabella, alive. Her face was weary, her shoulders slumped like someone who has been beaten down by life. But she was back to finish what she started. I need to tell you everything, she said, and you have to listen to me until the end. She came in, sat on the sofa, and looked me straight in the eye. You think you know Luna, right? I didn't answer, just watched her with a knot in my stomach. She got close to you after you started dating Steven, didn't she? I nodded. She did the same thing with me. The silence felt heavy. I met Steven years ago. In the beginning, everything was wonderful. But he had a childhood friend, Luna. One of those people who are always there, who seem harmless, who know everything about your life and who no one ever suspects. Isabella looked down. At first she was nice. She'd offer to help, give her opinion. But one day I accidentally overheard her talking to someone. She was saying I was temporary, that Stephen was only with me because he hadn't realized yet that she was the one he needed. And him? He would laugh. He thought it was a joke. He was always blind to her obsession. I swallowed hard. But that doesn't explain why you disappeared, why he thought you ran away. Isabella's voice broke. Because Luna framed me for a crime I didn't commit. My body went cold. She broke into the office of one of Stephen's clients and planted false evidence, documents in my name, printed emails. She made it look like I had stolen confidential information and sabotaged his work. That's impossible. The police called me in. They interrogated me. I didn't have an alibi for a key night. Stephen tried to defend me, but everything was against me. So I made a decision to run, to hide. You ran from the police? I did what I had to do to avoid going to prison for something I didn't do, and also to escape from her. Her hands were shaking. I lived under another name, Sophia Anderson. I worked cleaning, selling, doing whatever I could. Until last month, when an old security camera video surfaced. It showed Luna entering the building on the night of the crime. She took out an old phone and showed me the video. The image was blurry, but it was her, Luna. Her face, her clothes, her trail. That cleared me, she said. I finally sat down breathless. So why come back now? Why come to me? Because when I came back, I thought she would have forgotten about me. But I saw your name, your picture with Stephen, and I understood she was repeating the whole thing all over again. She took a deep breath. Only this time, I'm not going to let it happen. You think she wants to drive me away from him? I think she wants to destroy you. Because you achieved something she never could, making him truly love you. My head was spinning, my chest heavy. Isabella, are you sure Stephen never had anything with her? Positive. He always saw her as a sister. She was the one who manipulated him, created rumors, caused breakups. And when she could no longer control him, she decided to control those around him. I looked ahead and spoke to whoever is listening to this. If you've ever had an envious friend, you know what I'm talking about. They don't want what you have. They just can't stand to see you happy. And now, I asked, what do we do? We catch her in her own game, she said quietly. That night, we planned everything. Hidden cameras, microphones, a reunion at the restaurant where it all began. Stephen didn't know Isabella was back, and I still didn't know how I felt about him. But one thing was clear. If he was also a victim, he deserved to know the truth. The next day, I asked to talk to him. I pretended to be remorseful. I told him I wanted to try again. I proposed a symbolic dinner. Just the two of us. He accepted with a smile that seemed sincere, but his eyes were full of questions. Meanwhile, Isabella arranged to meet Luna, saying she wanted closure. Same restaurant, same time. I arrived and sat down. Stephen arrived shortly after. He took my hand. Thank you for giving me this chance. I wanted to smile, but my heart was torn between love, pain, and fear. Luna walked in. She saw us, froze for an instant, and then smiled. That fake smile that only someone who's been hurt by an envious person can recognize. What a coincidence, she said. You too. You look so lovely. Funny seeing you here, Stephen replied, his voice strained. Funny, she said. I was invited by her. She looked at me. I didn't look away. Sit down, Luna, I said. We were waiting for you. She sat, trying to maintain her composure. Then the waiter arrived with the dessert, the same one from the first day. But this time, no one had ordered it. There are truths that taste bitter, but when served at the right moment, they heal. I wasn't nervous, not this time, because now I knew who I was sitting with. And more importantly, I knew who I am. Luna sat at the table, smiling as if she owned the place. Stephen was beside me, not understanding what was about to happen. And then the waiter arrived with the same dessert from our anniversary dinner. My blood ran cold. Who ordered this? I asked. The waiter checked the order. It was placed through the app linked to this reservation. Stephen frowned. I didn't order anything. I didn't even open the app. I turned slowly toward Luna. She let out a light laugh. Maybe it was a kitchen mistake. Or maybe, I said, staring at her, you forgot I'm allergic to pistachios. The color drained from her face. What? That night, I ended up in the hospital. Remember? I thought it was the restaurant's mistake, but now it's clear. Stephen looked at me, confused. What are you saying? That it was her? I'm not saying it, Stephen. I know it. I turned the dessert over, and there they were, tiny pieces of pistachio mixed into the cream. Were you trying for a repeat performance, Luna? See if I wouldn't make it out alive this time? She crossed her arms. That's ridiculous. You're delusional. Just like when you invented that Isabella was a criminal. She fell silent. I know everything. You broke into the system of Stephen's client's company, stole confidential information, and framed her for it. You planted emails, documents, files, all with her name. You almost sent her to prison. That's why she disappeared. That's a lie, she screamed. Stephen was in shock. I continued. Yes, and I have proof. I took out my phone and played Isabella's audio message on speaker. She used my login to steal files. Then she planted the evidence in my house. I was only able to clear my name thanks to a video that shows Luna entering the building that night. Stephen covered his face. No, it can't be. Yes, it can, I said. She manipulated you. She manipulated me. And she wanted to repeat with me what she did with Isabella. But this time, it didn't work. Stephen looked at Luna. Did you do it? She stood up. I did what I had to do. She was going to ruin you. You almost killed her, he said, his voice broken. She pointed at me. No woman deserves you. None. Only me. The restaurant fell silent. People were staring at us. Some were recording. You're sick, Stephen murmured. She tried to leave, but 2 police officers were already at the entrance. Luna Martinez, the officer said, you're under arrest for attempted homicide, identity theft, fraud, and obstruction of justice. She resisted. I did it all for love. He was mine. But she had no choice. They handcuffed her and led her toward the door. And in that moment, I spoke to whoever is listening to this. If you've ever had someone who claimed to be your friend but secretly celebrated your failures, you know what I'm talking about? Some people don't seek love. They seek control. And when they can't dominate you, they try to destroy you. Stephen was pale. I had no idea. I know, I replied. But now you know who you were sleeping next to, and who you'll never sleep next to again. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. I stood firm. Because that day, I stopped being the deceived woman and became the one who unmasks the truth. But public justice isn't enough. There's still one part left. A justice that only I can carry out, and that will come later. 2 weeks later, I walked into that room at the police station. It wasn't a mandatory visit, it was for closure. Luna was there, in handcuffs, her hair pulled back, her expression tired, but her gaze was still sharp. You came for revenge? She asked. I came to show you that you didn't manage to destroy me. She snorted. I did it all for love. No, you did it out of hatred. Because someone who loves doesn't poison, doesn't lie, doesn't manipulate. You didn't love him. You hated not being loved by him. She let out a bitter laugh. And now you think you've won? I didn't win against you. I won for myself, because I understood that people like you only have power as long as we allow it. She said nothing. For the first time, she had no answer. You tried to destroy everyone who received the love you never knew how to give. But now, you're going to have to look in the mirror and see what you've always been. A woman who feeds on the failure of others because she doesn't know how to create her own happiness. I stood up, took a deep breath, and walked outside. Stephen was waiting for me. Not with flowers or sweet phrases, but with truth in his eyes. Forgive me. I was blind. I was passive. And because of that, you almost lost everything. I should have protected you. I should have seen the signs. And why only now? He took a deep breath. Because I understood that loving isn't just being there, it's choosing, it's acting. And I choose you, Renee. If you let me, I want to prove to you that you're worth every change, because you are worth everything. I was silent for a moment, And then I replied, then prove it. Not with words, but with actions, with consistency. Because now I won't accept anything less than what I deserve. He nodded and we walked toward the car together. But before getting in, I turned to you, who are listening to this story. If you've ever had an envious person in your life, you know how heavy that energy is. How those people feed on your joy and dim your light. Sometimes they come disguised as friends, as support, as affection, but in reality, they just want the stage that you illuminate. So, guard your energy. Protect yourself. Your light isn't for them to extinguish. It's for you to cherish. And tell me one thing, has this ever happened to you? Have you had someone like that in your life? If so, write 2 words in the comments. Toxic energy. Because there are some things we need to name to be able to let them go. And there are stories we need to tell so we never have to repeat them again.